Oh, exactly. I'm the eldest son. It's only right that I take over Dad's company.
Despite the impending funeral of Hugo, our late company president, my estranged older brother, blurted out such a statement as soon as he showed up. Huh? I couldn't help but let out a surprised murmur at my brother's words. Suddenly, Eugenie, my sister-in-law, raised her voice. Devin is saying he'll be the president. You get that, right? Normally the eldest son takes over the family business. As a younger sister, you should simply step aside. Whoa, Eugenie, lower your voice. The funeral is about to start.
Well then, admit it already that you're giving the company to me, or else we'll create a chaos at this funeral.
With smirks on their faces, they both stared at me. I had no idea that they were this insensitive. It felt like something taut within me, like a tightly drawn string just snapped. Dealing with these people was becoming more ridiculous by the second. Fine, I'll give it to you, but in return, get out of here right now. At my words, the two of them grinned.
No backing out later.
We are relieved you agreed so quickly, just like father-in-law. You're such an accommodating sister-in-law. Leaving those words behind, the couple left the venue. My name is Elsie. After losing my mother a few years ago, I have been living with Hugo. Despite being in his late 60s, Hugo remained active, astonishing even his own daughter with his vitality. Hugo ran his own company, where I also worked. Once I started working, I realized that Hugo, who I had always seen as strict during my childhood, was actually a man of great compassion. Hugo's stern and plain-spoken demeanor, both at home and in the office, were the result of a character that didn't allow for compromise, neither from himself nor others. I became aware of this because Hugo, who I had thought was cold, was highly respected and depended upon by his staff at the company. I used to wonder why these people would follow such a ruthless man. One day, I saw the reason firsthand.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, I received a call from our client, N.Co., saying that the quantity of the goods we delivered yesterday was short.
The one saying this with a pale face was an employee named Tobin. N.Co. is a valuable client of ours. Hugo's company isn't big and our main operation is transactions with major clients. In other words, every single issue with a major client is of considerable importance. Tobin continued, bowing his head.
It's my fault. They apparently need it today, so I'll hurry and deliver it right away. I'm really sorry.
To this employee, Hugo said,
Wait. I'll go too. It's my fault as the company's president when the company makes a mistake. Let's go apologize together.
Hugo stood from his seat and put on his suit jacket. They reported upon their return that our dealings with N.Co. would continue. Apparently, after Hugo apologized, he presented a plan to prevent such mistakes in the future to N.Co. N.Co. was not only convinced by the plan, but also increased the volume of transactions due to Hugo's honest attitude and his good judgment in rectifying the mistake.
Given the time crunch for N.Co.'s order, I shouldn't have left it all to Tobin. I should have confirmed it together. So don't blame yourself alone.
Tobin shared that Hugo had said these words to him on their way to the client. Tobin proudly spoke of Hugo, who had responsibility and also supported him. Then other employees started to talk about Hugo in unison. From their proud faces, I realized why Hugo was so loved. Thus, my expression of Hugo, which had been that of a cold and strict person, changed to that of a strict but caring person, and I began to respect and admire him, just like the other employees did. As my perception of Hugo changed, not only as a CEO but also as a father, I started to nurse a certain concern. The cause of my concern was my brother. I have a brother named Devin. My brother, rebelling against the strict Hugo, had left home as soon as he graduated from college and had never returned, not even when our mother passed away. A self-centered brother who didn't attend even our mother's funeral. But perhaps influenced by the loss of our mother, I started to reconsider the importance of family and wondered if I could somehow mend the relationship between Hugo and my brother. If he could know our father not only as a stern man, but also a caring one, their bad relationship might be resolved. The more I knew about Hugo's kindness, the stronger this thought became. Then one day, my brother came back with a woman. I was surprised by the sudden visit, but Hugo, though keeping his calm, seemed somewhat pleased. However, despite their reunion after several years, my brother started the conversation without showing any concern for Hugo or searching for our deceased mother.
Because of the debts, I can't live a proper life. Dad, please. Please take over my debts.
From me as well, please. The woman crying next to my brother who just said this was Eugenie, who he said was his wife. Without reporting to any of our family, my brother had married. He had married Eugenie, but due to the debts from his gambling, their married life wasn't going well. So he came back to ask Hugo for help. It's too much to ask. That's what I thought, but Hugo said,
Understood.
And that was it. When I looked at Hugo in surprise, he was staring at my brother and his wife with a serious look.
These are the conditions. Never gamble again to bear debts. Work hard for your family. Show up a few times a year. If you can keep these, I will pay your debts.
Even the strict Hugo must have been pleased with the reunion with his long-lost son. The amount of debt my brother was carrying wasn't something you would take over with these conditions. However, if this could improve the relationship between Hugo and my brother little by little, that might be enough. After all, Hugo accepted it under these conditions, so it's not my place to comment. I convinced myself of that.
Oh, thanks, Dad. You saved me.
As soon as Hugo agreed to take over the debt, my brother quickly explained the transfer destination for the money and left our house. I wasn't without concern about my brother's attitude, but above all, I was genuinely happy that Hugo and my brother had a reunion after a long time. The usually quiet Hugo mentioned my brother's name several times that day. He must have been very pleased. But people don't change so easily. Nearly 2 years have passed since my brother visited Hugo, but my brother hasn't shown up since then. Moreover, the debt kept increasing every month, and even though it was being paid back, bills kept coming to Hugo. During that time, I contacted my brother many times. Even though I blamed him for not meeting the conditions given by Hugo, my brother wouldn't listen.
It's between Dad and me, so don't interfere.
And he would hang up the phone every time. Then one day, Hugo told me something.
It seems I have pancreatic cancer. They say I have about a year to live.
What? Because it was so sudden, I was at a loss for words. After all, Hugo was so energetic that even I and the other employees acknowledged it. Hugo having cancer and only a year left to live? But Hugo is not a man who jokes. Both the cancer and the prognosis must be true. It's futile to be flustered here. What I have to do now is to support Hugo. From then on, I started learning the work that Hugo had been doing and studying management myself. Hugo was also proactive in mentoring me. Perhaps he was ensuring that things would be all right regardless of what happened to him. The thought made me feel complicated, but when I thought about the company that Hugo had always protected and the employees with whom he had worked, there was no room for complaints. Then, several months later, Hugo was admitted to the hospital. Even during his hospitalization, it seemed that my brother had been contacted to make debt payments.
Sorry, but could you make the payment on my behalf?
When Hugo said that to me, I was so outraged that I called my brother as soon as I left the hospital and raised my voice. Didn't I tell you before Dad has cancer? He's in the hospital right now, and yet you're asking for money? What are you thinking? Why don't you visit him once before you say such things? But my brother's attitude only got worse. He responded in an irritated voice as if saying it was a bother.
So what? Whether it's cancer or anything else, Dad shouldered it, so it's natural to pay.
Brother, aren't you breaking Dad's conditions? You never show up, and you're increasing the debt every month. Plus, I heard you're going to the casino every day with Eugenie.
Shut up. Both Eugenie and I are gambling to increase our money.
Unable to accept his excuse, I exclaimed, "What?" And I could hear a woman's voice from the back of the phone. "Tell him we're happy, because our father-in-law is paying the debt and we can enjoy ourselves without worrying." Probably my sister-in-law. I could also hear their laughter as if making fun of us.
Hey, if you say things like that and we can't get the debt paid, what will you do?
But he's not going to survive, right? We thought we should express our gratitude while we can. Plus, Wasn't it Devin who said, such a father, he's just here for the money? Hearing their conversation, I impulsively hung up the phone. Unknowingly, my clenched fist was shaking. Without making the payment Hugo asked for, I returned to Hugo's hospital room and told him about the phone conversation. I knew it might shock him, but I just couldn't stand it. Hugo listened to my story, was silent for a while, then turned a serious face towards me and nodded slightly.
Elsie, I have a favor to ask.
I was taken aback by what he said. Then, a few months later, Hugo passed away and went to heaven. Many people came to see Hugo's face at the wake. But at the funeral today, even more people are gathering. Uncle Godwin, who is Hugo's cousin, is joining me in greeting those who came to the funeral. I tried contacting my brother on the day Hugo passed away, but he didn't answer the phone and didn't respond to my emails. Uncle Godwin, thank you for everything. When I said that, Uncle Godwin made a modest smile.
It's fine. Elsie, you must have been through a lot. Let me know if there's anything else I can help with.
You have helped me more than enough. Thanks for being here, even though it was short notice. Just as Uncle Godwin and I were talking.
Hey, Elsie, we're here.
It was my brother and sister-in-law who showed up. I sighed at their arrival. Why didn't you reply to my contacts? It should be you, as the eldest son, who should be in charge of the funeral, right?
Those two troublesome. Besides, I have something to talk to you about.
With that, my brother crossed his arms and stood arrogantly. My sister-in-law standing next to him had a smirk on her face.
You just mentioned me as the eldest son, right?
Yeah, so what?
Yeah, I'm the eldest son. That's why I'll take over Dad's company.
What? At my brother's words, I let out a voice unconsciously. Suddenly, my sister-in-law raised her voice. David is going to be the president. You get it too, right? It's only natural for the eldest son to take over the company. The younger sister should step aside quietly. What? Oh, wait a minute, Eugenie. Keep your voice down. The funeral is about to start.
Well then, acknowledge that you'll pass the company to me quickly. Otherwise, we will make a mess of this funeral.
They gave us a vile smile. I didn't know that they could be so uncivil. It felt like a taut string had been abruptly cut. It seemed ridiculous to even bother with these people anymore. Fine, I'll give it to you, my dear brother, but in return, get out of here right now. At my words, they grinned widely.
Don't you dare go back on your word later.
I'm relieved that it ended quicker than I thought, just like our father-in-law, such a convenient sister-in-law. With those words, the couple left the venue. A few days later, I received persistent contact from my brother, which led me to accompany the couple to the company. My brother, perhaps having bought new clothes, was dressed in a flashy suit, and my sister-in-law wore a ring adorned with large jewels and a gaudy necklace. As expected, my sister-in-law, flaunting her ring, struck up a conversation with me. I bought it because I'm becoming the president's wife. How is it? Isn't it lovely? With my emotions drained, I replied, Indeed. Even with such a curt reply, my sister-in-law seemed satisfied and proud. However, her smug expression soon distorted. Upon reaching the company, my brother, ignoring me, clapped his hands loudly.
I am the president from now on. Everyone, follow my orders.
With that, my brother looked content, and my sister-in-law standing beside him wore a triumphant expression. Now, this $30 million revenue company is my husband's. I am the president's wife. I'm looking forward to our life from now on. With a scornful glance at me, my sister-in-law laughed loudly, flaunting her ring once more. But the very next moment, a wave of laughter erupted within the company. Hugo's subordinates, all the employees, began to burst into laughter. Unable to comprehend the situation, the couple, losing their earlier smug smiles, looked upset. What's so funny?
I don't know. Did you say something weird?
My brother answered, flustered, in response to my sister-in-law, who was yelling out of irritation. Seeing this, I couldn't help but laugh. Noticing me laughing, my sister-in-law shot a sharp glance at me and started yelling, You know something. What did you do? What's so funny? Oh, it's just funny to see something that's not even yours being claimed so brazenly. What? Hearing my words, my sister-in-law screamed and my brother yelled.
What do you mean?
Indeed, the president of this company isn't my brother. From the time of the funeral, neither my brother nor I had any authority to take over Hugo's company. That's because Hugo's company had already been sold. When I found out that my brother and his wife only saw Hugo as a cash cow, Hugo made a request to me. That was to sell the company.
I made a mistake raising Devin. While I'm alive, it's fine, but I don't want to cause trouble for you after I'm gone.
Hugo, saying this, made up his mind to let go of the company for my sake. Of course, I opposed it, but Hugo's determination was unwavering. From then on, while still in the hospital, Hugo spent busy days talking with Uncle Godwin, who runs the company, about buying the company, discussing the future of the company with each employee. Thus, the company was safely handed over. All the employees were satisfied with the sale of the company, as Hugo explained it earnestly, and their conditions did not change. And a few weeks after Hugo passed away, the purchase agreement was signed and the company was already in the hands of Uncle Godwin. Despite this, my brother was saying things like, "I'm the president," and "the company is my husband's." How could I not laugh at this? I'm sure not just me, but all the employees were holding back their laughter since the funeral. I summed this up and explained it to my brother and his wife. Upon learning that the company was already up for sale before either of us siblings decided to take it over, my brother and his wife turned pale.
Whoa, wait a minute. You told me you would hand over the company to me. What was all that about?
That. I thought if I didn't say it, you would make a mess of Dad's funeral. So you're saying this company won't be ours? What should we do? We bought this ring and this necklace on credit again. What about that money? At my words, my sister-in-law began to yell in rage. My sister-in-law continued to blame my brother, saying, "You have to do something." In his fluster, my brother seemed to realize something and a sleazy smile crept across his face again.
That's right. Dad left an inheritance, didn't he? I'm the eldest son. Hand over all of Dad's inheritance.
Upon hearing the word inheritance, my sister-in-law, who had been openly angry until a moment ago, changed her tone. That's right, inheritance. He was the CEO, so there should be a lot, right? Oh, good. We don't have to worry about our debts, and we can keep having fun. I dealt my sister-in-law, who was relieved and saying such things, a cruel blow. No inheritance is left for my brother. By father's will, he has been excluded from the heirs. Indeed, Hugo not only sold the company but also left a will with a lawyer present so that the inheritance would not go to my brother. It stated that Hugo, who had been repeatedly covering my brother's substantial gambling debts, excluded my brother from the heirs.
That's ridiculous.
My brother argued, but I coldly brushed him off, saying, "Why don't you hire a lawyer or something? It's a waste of money, though."
I can't believe it. I quit my job thinking I would get the company, and I can't even get an inheritance?
The two, having lost their last hope, left the company in a daze. After the two had left, the employee told me, "That was well done." My brother, who had quit his job in anticipation of getting the company, apparently couldn't find a decent job afterwards. My sister-in-law, who thought she would become the wife of the CEO, also had her dreams dashed and seems to be considering divorce from my brother, but she can't even afford to do so because she has no money. The two seem to be living a life of paying off debts while working part-time all day and having quarrels every day. Meanwhile, I have been working together with the same staff as before, even after the president became Uncle Godwin. Thanks to Hugo's efforts during his lifetime, not only have we been able to continue our relationships with our clients as before after the acquisition, but also thanks to Uncle Godwin, we have more clients and our annual sales are on the rise. This company will surely continue to undergo various changes, but I think it's my role to keep protecting this company, respecting and embodying Hugo's ideas. To achieve that, I will continue to work hard.